Hello, I'm Nolan Reynolds from Windermere Real Estate in Silverdale, Washington, and today it's time for our Kitsap Weekly Update. Let's check it out. Okay, so we'll start with our pocket stats, and we missed a few weeks, so I'm going to jump back in time here and kind of work us forward fairly quickly. So looking back at June 22nd, this is where we noticed some things start to change. So June 22nd was what we had been seeing the weeks prior to that were pretty similar. Average sale price around 700,000, days on market 32, and pending there was about 100. We had 739 total active. And then the following week is where we had first seen a drop. Previous to that, we had been slowly kind of trending up for a number of, I want to say maybe 4 to 6 weeks. Prior to that, we had been kind of trending upward on our average sale price. And this is where we had seen it drop down to 688. Days on market stayed relatively similar, and pending there were only 81 previous to the 100 that last week that we just looked at, and 784 active. That stayed pretty similar. Then as we came into July, this is July 6th, we saw 674, so again fell slightly from the week prior, and everything else stayed relatively similar. Mostly that average sale price is what I'm checking out right here. Everything else is staying fairly similar. Again, kind of dropped down there and maintained down there for a number of weeks in a row. And then we come here to July 20th, started to see a little bit of an uptick, and then that brings us to this current week. July 27th is when these numbers came out. The average sale price was 684, and the rest of the numbers again stayed pretty similar. So realistically, not a lot of news in the past few months, really this year. I think that's kind of the trend with everything financially. It seems like there's not really a lot of change that we're seeing happen either way. Things are staying relatively steady. And then a quick look at the mortgage rates. You may have heard that the Fed at their meeting this week decided not to drop the interest rates. Just taking a quick look at those. This is looking at the 10-year. If we zoom in, we can see where we sit here for this year. That's your 30-year here on Freddie Mac, 6.72. And this is looking at the entire year. A little over 6 at the low point. Up around just a little over 7 for the high point. So again, not a lot of change throughout this year, but zooming out, kind of interesting sometimes to look at. This is 3 years, 5 years, and this is 10 years. As we know, interest rates stayed pretty low for a pretty long time there through 2018 all the way into, I would say, kind of around here, mid 2022 when they started to jump up. And then as we see toward the end of 2022, we really haven't seen a huge change from now all the way back to then. And then just for fun, zooming out and look at all time back into from the 70s. As we know, some of our parents had extremely high interest rates. Kitsap Mall redevelopment could bring new restaurants or hotel, management says. So big changes are possible for the Kitsap Mall. Raising Cane's, Shake Shack, and Valvoline are also names that could potentially be joining the Silverdale Shopping Center in the near future. Of those, only Raising Cane's has taken a concrete step with a building permit filed in Kitsap County earlier this year, or what records show. Rhino Investments Group acquired the Kitsap Mall back in January. If you remember, we talked a little bit about that. They're the ones heading this, and they're definitely trying to get new businesses there into the mall, or it sounds like there are building locations throughout the parking lot that they're considering as well. In the parking lot on the north side of the mall, there's a 3.13 acre parcel set aside for either a hotel or multifamily housing. And they said that they have already had some interest in the hotel side. 43,000 people live within 10 minutes of the mall with an average household income of $138,000 and some change. And if you zoom out a little bit further, within 30 minutes of the mall, the population rises to nearly 180,000. And then very briefly, there's a weekend closure of Sedgwick Ramp to westbound Highway 16 coming. The Sedgwick Road on-ramp to westbound Highway 16 in Port Orchard is scheduled for close for the entire weekend, forcing drivers headed toward Bremerton to take a detour route. The ramp closure is set to begin at 6 p.m. on Friday, August 1st, and it'll last through 5 a.m. on Monday, August 4th. So just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. If you're going to be out there in Port Orchard, probably want to avoid that. And then lastly, let's check out some activities going on this week. This is on Love Kitsap's website. I'll link it down below if you're interested in checking any of these out. But as you can see here, all over this weekend, we've got a lot of stuff going on. The West Sound Film Festival, Moonlight Market, Taste of Kitsap, West Sound Crime Con, and the summer art market, all going on this weekend. And that concludes this weekly update. Thank you for taking the time to watch it. If you have interest in buying or selling a home here in the Kitsap or surrounding areas, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. Thank you and have a great day.